needs Wi-Fi access. It's the same PTC, Hilton, Hawaiian Village, and the username is APTelecom. It's capital A, capital P, capital T, and then telecom, all one word. And then the password is telecom 808, and the letter T in telecom 808 is capitalized. So if anybody needs Wi-Fi access while we're sitting here, feel free to use that. As I mentioned, we're just going to a couple of housekeeping things. We understand a lot of folks have other meetings scheduled and planned, so if you have to leave, no offense taken. The presentation from this morning is going to be available, as well as the 2 video streams on statusubsea.com and on the APTelecom YouTube feed. So that'll be available for everybody to watch if you can't stay for the whole duration of the program. It's not a problem. Feel free to check it out. It'll be up probably within 24 hours. The team just needs time to upload it after the event. Everyone has on their seat in front of them the brochure. If you just guys could open it up and look inside. For folks that are carriers or content players or anything of that sort that actually have capacity needs from the South Atlantic cable, SACs from Angola to Brazil, from Africa to South America, as well as from Brazil to Florida, there's a section to put in from a demand forecast. Again, if your demand is 0, feel free to put in 0. If your demand is 10 gig or 100 gig or in between or more, put that in, because then we can follow up and talk to you guys. The whole concept of the DGM is a little bit retro. It's something that was done in the 1990s and many IRUs ago. But the purpose is not for us to get up and really have a one-way conversation. The purpose is to have a bilateral discussion in a larger setting. So the feedback form in front of you is really important. And in order to get that information from all the attendees in the room, and again, thank you for coming, we've made a lucky draw donation. And that's why PCCW has about 7 people here, because these guys want to win the lucky draw. They won the last one. I think Joseph did. So Joseph's hoping to continue his winning streak, but I think I don't know, maybe Tata could win this year, but we'll see how things go. But in order to win the lucky draw, you do have to fill in the DGM form, even if it says 0. And your business cards, if you haven't given already, Megan, if you could just raise your hand. Megan will make sure that at the end of the program, we pick the 2 winners out. It's a $500 gift certificate at the Hilton properties anywhere in the world, donated by APTelecom. So that's it on the housekeeping. The video is going to be up, as well as the presentation, a little bit on the DGM forms that we'll be collecting towards the tail end of the presentation this morning. And just to make sure that everybody that needs Wi-Fi, it is available. And again, the password is telecom 808 with a capital T, and the username is APTelecom, capital A, capital E, capital T. So that takes care of some of the housekeeping stuff. And if anybody does have a phone, which I'm sure everybody does, you can just make sure it's on mute so it doesn't disrupt. And that includes the speakers, Archer. During our dry run yesterday, it went off. So just want to make sure that his phone is on mute mode as well. So I believe that covers all the admin items that we wanted to just take care of before we kicked off this morning. A couple of folks that we just wanted to recognize and thank, first being Ocean Specialists, Tom Soja and his team. They've been the lead project for just over 3.5 years for Angola cables going on a global basis. And we're obviously very grateful for the relationship with Tom, with Ocean Specialists. Tom's there in the back for anybody that likes to speak with Tom after the event. We have this room till approximately 9:15, so feel free, if you have any questions that you don't want to ask in an open setting, to ask on a sidebar setting, one-on-one, offline. I'd also like to thank APTelecom's public relations agency, the North 6 agency in the city of New York, Tribeca, actually Soho now since they moved to their new office. We started this planning and preparation in October of 2014. And the team really rolled up their sleeves and has managed to drive a fairly good event. We did a prior event in 2011, in 2012, in 2013. So this is becoming an annual tradition. It's a way to get all the folks connected in a fairly short manner, and North Six has done a great job at this event. So thank you, Matt, Megan, and Nick. Lastly, wanted to just acknowledge two folks from the Angola Cables team that are in the room. First is Angola Cables board member, Pedro. Pedro, if you could raise your hand. I've had the pleasure of spending time with Pedro in Angola, in Luanda, in West Africa, as well as in New York and here in Hawaii. And his commitment and his vision to Angola's growth to really change the next 25, 30 years on the African continent is quite sincere. Man of mission and vision. He's really looking to grow Angola Cables as a IT hub. And I think they have an impressive story and vision that they're trying to explain to the world. And hopefully today we'll be able to share a little bit more. Also, Ariette is here from Angola Cables, commercial manager. And Ariette is, this is her second PTC, I believe. Second time to Hawaii. A little bit jet lagged because the flight from Angola is about 35 hours, seems like it. But it's all good, and we're great to have, glad to have you here. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker that's going to present the overview of Angola Cables, Mr. Artur Mendes, the Chief Commercial Officer of Angola Cables. Artur has got an illustrious background with Nokia in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. And we've had a chance to work with Artur over the last 2.5 years. Consider him a very good friend and industry colleague. Pleasure working with him. And if you could give him a big round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric, for your nice words. Thank you all for coming and being present with us. In fact, I will only present a few slides because we would like to pass you some more technical information. And for that, I'm not the best person to do it. But we thank you again for your presence, and you could feel well with us. I'll just speak a bit about Angola Cables, a small overview. So Angola Cable has been created in 2009 by the 5 main Angolan operators that we could see in the slide. So APTelecom, that is the incumbent operator. We have 2 mobile operators, Unitel and Movicel. MS Telco, that is the telecommunication arm of the oil company of Angola. And also Startel, that is also a fixed operator. So it was joining this, all the needs of these operators, plus the division of the government strategy to try to make it a company that could really transform Angola into one of the main telecommunications hubs in Africa, and really to try to develop the telecommunication sectors in Angola and in Africa, and being able then to have good interconnections between Africa and the rest of the world. Africa is a region that is growing at a very healthy pace, where a lot of things still needs to be done. So we really would like to help and to have a key role on that development of Africa. Speaking a bit about Angola, Angola has an estimated population of 24 millions, but 60% are under 30%. So it's a very young nation, and normally I say this is very positive because, of course, young people normally are early adopters of new technologies, and we could see that Angola is taking also a good development on this side, but there's still a lot to be done. When we started to see some of the numbers, of course, in terms of internet penetration, the rate is still below 20%. We are still a little above the average of Africa. Africa is at 19.3 at this stage, so Angola is still below that. On mobile phones, we are quite aligned with the rest of Africa, that is normally still below 60%. And just for curiosity, if we look for Facebook, that normally people now compare as one of the big nations, if we put on all the Facebook users, we are still below 10%. So there's plenty of space to grow in Angola, as in Africa as an overall. But it's true is that Africa is jumping some of the steps. So Angola has been the first country in Africa to have a 4G networks. So the country is very well covered with 3G and 4G networks. Fiber have been developed in the country heavily. We have more than 20,000 kilometers of fiber already in the country. So in terms of technology, the country is working and evolving very well. In terms of the big projects that we'd like to present it here, and Joel and David will present it. Just to give you, so we'll speak about Saxon Monet. I just would like to clarify, because even on the sheets we have still Cota. Cota was the name that Angola Cables used before for Monet. Monet was a confidential name for the project, so we cannot use it. So as a marketing in Angola, we normally call it Cable of the Americas. That's why sometimes we'll start still seeing Cota because it was the old name. Now Monet is a public name, we could announce it and we could use it, so we are using it already. Angola also we have WOX cable, that is this one that appears from UK down to South Africa, touching 3 European countries, that is UK, Canary Islands and Portugal, and 11 countries. These have been the one that we have been selling so far, and we are proud to say that we are the second operator with most capacity activated here, so there's only NTN front of us. That is a good achievement for us. But of course, the main projects that we are now speaking is about SAX, connecting Angola to Fortaleza in Brazil. This is 100% Angola Cables project, and you hear more about it. And Monet from Santos to Fortaleza and up to Miami. This is a consortium, and you hear more about it. Okay. So.
Thanks. Okay. Thank you, Arthur. I'd like to call to the podium Joel. Joel will be speaking about the Monet system between Brazil and Florida. Giving a brief technical overview of the summary and the current status. Joel has been the Monet lead for Angola Cables for over the past 2 years, and working on all aspects of contract formation, technical definition, and negotiation. Joel's going to be continuing his role as the lead project implementator for the Angola Cables system. He was recently elected joint chair of the purchaser group by the Monet system, where he will represent the interests of all purchasers for the Monet system implementation. So, Joel.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Thank you, Arthur. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming this early. It's good to see a number of familiar faces in the room. For those that don't know me, my name is Joel Panning, as Eric has said. And I've been working with Angola Cables for more than 2 years now on the Monet project. So, as a bit of background before we get into the details, something might ask why it's taken 2 years. So there's a number of things that have happened so far. There's been a drive also to find partners to come in on the system with us. And that's not an easy task, as well as finding the partners. And once we've found the partners, we've had to draw up a contract to find the technical definitions of the system, specifications, and lastly but not leastly, agree a joint build agreement. So define the relationship between the purchasers. So that's the last 2 years in a nutshell. So. It's good to be standing here now with a story to tell. We've come a long way already. We've got a way to go still, another couple of years. But it's good to be here with something happening. So, what is Monet then? So Monet is obviously a new system from Florida down to Brazil. You can see it there on the map down the east coast of Brazil. Oh, sorry, wrong button. It's got 3 landing points, Boca Raton in the north, Fortaleza, and Santos stroke Sao Paulo in Brazil. It's a trunk branch system, so it has a 10,500 kilometer trunk with a branch unit of Fortaleza for fiber drops and wavelength drops. It's a 6 fiber pair system on the trunk, and yeah, as I said, it's a wavelength and a fiber drop branch unit. So in summary, it's a turnkey supply from Subcom. There are 4 money purchases involved, and that changed over the previous 2 years. There was a lot of toing and froing, and we went in with different partners who couldn't make it in the end, and this is the 4 that managed to get to the finish line. So it's obviously Angola Cables. We also have Google. We have APTelecom, which is a big telecoms company in Brazil, and we have Antel in Uruguay, which is the state operator. The system is set up so that Angola Cables owns their dedicated fiber pairs in the system, as do all the other 3. So there are 6 fiber pairs, as I said. Angola Cables will own 2, Google will own 2, and each of the others will have 1 fiber pair each. So this is just a summary overview of the fiber pair configuration for Angola Cables. As you can see, Boca Raton, Fortaleza, Santos. There's a single fiber pair with fiber drops into Fortaleza via the branch unit, and a second fiber pair with express capability and wavelength drop capability for customers that want an express or to expand our drop capability if we need it. So the total capacity of the system is 120 by 100 gig on the drop fiber pairs, and 100 by 100 gig on the express. As I said before, 10,500 kilometer trunk. This is the last slide, so it's just a summary status of where we are. So, as I said before, we have a joint build agreement between the money purchasers signed and in place. The supply contract with Subcom was signed on the 9th of August last year, and it came into force on the 8th of October last year. So we're already 3 months into the project. Full funding is in place, all purchases paid, and are financially committed. So there's no going back from here. So in terms of the work that started, the marine survey has started, it's underway, permit applications are underway, manufacturing process has commenced, and just for information really, the marine installation program is the middle of next year with an RFS date for the end of 2016. So if anyone has any questions, they can ask me them now, or we can tie up afterwards. I'll be around after the meeting. But is there any questions at the moment? Yeah, thank you.
The landing party in Boca, is that no?
It is. So the landing party in Boca will be Google. In Fortaleza will be Angola Cables, and in Santos will be Google.
Okay, and so you're building a new cable landing station in Boca?
We're building a new cable landing station in Fortaleza and Santos. I'm not sure yet what Google are going to do. We have an option to build one, but we also have an option to go into existing facilities, which is the preferred solution. Thank you.
What is the construction cost on it?
Construction costs? I don't know. I don't believe I'm allowed to disclose the construction costs. Okay, so that's it from me on money. I'll pass you back to Eric briefly.
Thank you, Joel, for that comprehensive overview of the Brazil-Florida money system. I think the key point that Joel certainly made was that the full funding is in place. There's been a lot of deal fatigue, a lot of fatigue about systems that are talked about that don't come to fruition and that don't materialize. This is not one of them. They're going ahead. So if there's any key takeaway or message that we want to make sure that everyone leaves with today, is that the system is going ahead. Okay, I'd like to call up to the podium for the next part of the DGM presentation. The South Atlantic portion, the SAC system,